All right, here we are. Got her all back together. Wheels are popped back in. All right, paper clip's working good. I hit the back with just a permanent magic marker, black one. They'll never know. They'll never know. So I gave all the wheels a taste of oil there. So this truck is ready to go as soon as we put our side frames back on. But she's running good. So we can move on to our chassis here. There's this mess. Okay, I put a little more light on the subject. It's kind of dark there. All right, so we got to get this one off, get it in some mineral spirits and cleaned up. Otherwise in good shape, just dirty. So we'll have to unsolder this wire here and get that off. So let's do that right now. All right, let me bring in some weight here. That looks like it's through wrapped around there, so we'll have to guide her off of that. Shouldn't be a problem. We shall see. Soldering iron's not up to temperature yet. There she goes. All right, we'll push that wire up and around. She's caught on the, there it is. All right. There's a little hook right there that you wrap your wire around. A little strand left in there, we'll get that off. All right. So that truck's off, and I'll put that in a bowl of mineral spirits, get that all cleaned up. All right. Okay, and as you can see, we're going to have to replace this wire on this truck also. That insulation's a goner. So we'll get that replaced. Get her all cleaned up. All right, now what we got over here, we've got our mechanism. All right. And the way you get these off, this side here has a little slot, a hook and slot right there. You can see that. So this will slide to the right there. I'll keep my hand in there so it stays focused. So that'll slide to the right once we untwist these two tabs here. See, they're twisted very gently. So you want to be careful. These will snap if you go too hard on them. So we'll get these straightened up. And then this piece here, this whole section will drop down. And then we can slide it to the right. And the whole thing should come off. We still have a wire connected here to our connection point on the chassis here. But that still looks in good shape. There's a, insulator right between the rivet and the chassis, and then that allows I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see it, but yeah, there's a couple of insulators there, and that isolates it. Okay, so I think we'll get our truck ready to get into the mineral spirits. We'll use our favorite spreading tool here. These are snap ring pliers, ratcheting style. I've been grinding my own bits for this to spread apart whatever I need, E-units or motor frames, whatever I need it for. But these are the best, the ones that come with the pliers for a particular snap ring, because they've got that curve to it. And that gives me just enough room here to spread these out. Shove it down there where we can get a good bite. And just gently spread. That part is out. And there's that right there. Okay. So let's get the other side done. Same deal. Let's open her up a little bit. There we go. Get a good bite on her. And there you go. It's all in good shape. And there's our recently freed truck. Alright, so we'll throw that in our mineral spirits, get that all cleaned up. We'll work on getting that wire replaced there too. But our spring looks in good shape. This one was sticking a little bit, but it might be just that rust and corrosion down there that was holding the shoe. So, looks like it's freed up now that I've been playing with it. But, yeah, it's springing back quite nicely now. Alright. But once the mineral spirits work on it, it'll clean all that out. Armature springs in good shape. The rivets okay. Axles and wheels are good. I don't see any flanges chipped or missing. And our coupler still works. So, alright, let me get that in the mineral spirits and I'll be back with you. So here's our chassis now, and first thing I want to do, brought my meter over, we're going to make sure that our two insulators that keep the soldering lugs separated. You can see that. Keeps it insulated from the frame, the chassis. And we want to make sure that those are still good. So let me get this on our continuity check setting here. Make sure she's beeping. And she is. So if we touch one of the solder lugs here and go to our chassis, there shouldn't be any continuity there, and there is not. And the other solder lug, alright, nothing. Alright, so we go between the two solder lugs. Alright, very good. What that tells us, let me get a better touch on that. What that tells us is that our coil is not open. So the coil is intact. Let's go over to the ohm setting. Let's get a reading on the coil. What's that, about 6.8 ohms on the coil. And that's about half of what an E-unit coil is. And you can see here, this actually looks like an E unit if you stand it up. So, but in the horizontal position. So this will tell us that our coil is still good and that we can continue on with our work and take this all apart. So the first thing I'm going to do here is heat up the soldering iron, unsolder the coil off of these soldering lugs, and then we can take this mechanism apart. All right, let me get this soldering iron heated up. I'll turn my meter off. We don't need that anymore. That gave us good information. All right, I got our clamp holding our chassis down in place, and we'll try to heat this up. See if we can get our, see which way it's wound up here first. Looks like it's all right. I see it. It looks like it's going to go that way. There's that wire. That goes to the other truck. All right. Get that piece off of there. There. Little extra wire there that's been wrapped around there. All right. Now we'll go for the coil wire here. You don't want to overheat this rivet or this soldering lug. Ruin your insulator. Okay, they had it wound around there. All right. We'll get her. Just have to unwind it as you're heating it up once in a while. There it is, it's coming. There it is. All right. Very good. Blow the dust off of there. It looks like somebody's worked on this before. That's a lot of solder for a factory solder. Just try to clean some of that off. All right. There it is. It's the other coil side of our coil wire. So that's all fixed up there. Disconnected. All right. So I got my meter back over here, and we'll do another continuity check, make sure we didn't melt anything, cause our solder lugs to short. Nope, everything's good. Let's check to the frame. Both lugs, everything's good. All right. So now we can pull the solenoid assembly off the chassis. Alright, so now we gotta straighten these two tabs out here. So we'll just grab them with our vice grips here, get a good hold on them. Gently straighten them up. That looks pretty good. Straighten this one out. Okay. And then we should be able to coax it out of there. And then, like I say, these have slots in them over here on this side. And then it'll just drop right out. Alright, so there's our chassis. Here's our mechanism. Alright. Very good. Looks pretty clean in there. I remember there was a piece of plastic that was in there, but that seemed to have, oh, here it is. That fell out of there, that piece of plastic. All right, very good. Then you'll see this side of the geared wheel here, it sits in a slot, okay, and then you can pull it out if you need to work on it, but that just sits in a slot, and then this wing that points downward on our chassis, that holds it in place once it's back in place there. So you'll see that just sits on that shaft of that geared wheel there and keeps it in place. Alright, so we got some rust there to clean up, a little bit of clean up here and there. It's not too bad though, looks pretty good. See something down in there, don't know what that is. Let's see. Just another piece of plastic. See a little spider's nest down in there. We'll get that out. I'm sure they're long gone. like another little spider's nest down in here. All right. So that looks all good. And then here's our spring return for our pawl here as it gets pulled into the solenoid. The spring will return it. But everything looks good. There's a spring here, conical spring, just to keep pressure on this geared wheel. And then the other side of the shaft just pokes through a hole here. So that's all there is to it. So let me get this thing cleaned up. And just looks like a bunch of little rust spots, nothing serious. No real dirt to speak of. So I think we're in good shape. But here's the pawl. That's the pawl. And then, yeah, that looks in good shape. I don't see anything wrong with that. Nothing's out of position. Everything looks good. All right. You can just barely see the shaft there that gets pulled up into the solenoid and brings the pawl up, turns the gear, which walks up the log unloader assembly. So, all right, let's get all this cleaned up here now. This is kind of, I hit some of it with the wire wheel, but because I'm gonna probably repaint this, I'll just paint it flat black, but I'll tape off where the trucks engage the chassis on both sides here. I'll tape that off. You want metal to metal contact there. So, and then I'll tape over the solder lugs here. Don't need to spray them, but I'll clean this all up. With this amount of rust and pitting, we probably could leave it, but why not give it a fresh coat, huh? Yeah. I don't know that I'll do anything to this. If I did, I could just tape off the coil and all this assembly here and then spray the case here. Tape off where the gear is. But we'll see how it cleans up before we do anything drastic like spray painting on it. All right. So let me get it cleaned up and we'll be back with you. So we got our parts cleaned here on our chassis. Here's our solenoid unit here. That cleaned up pretty nice. So I'm happy with that. And got it all cleaned out and all that rust off that was along the edge. But the chassis itself here, that was in pretty bad shape. So I sanded it down and gave her a paint job. You can see I taped off here where the trucks pivot, and taped off our soldering lugs so I didn't get paint on that. Same thing over here, taped that off. And then on this side I just took the paint away where it was, where those our trucks will mount there. I don't want oil and paint mixing when I lubricate the trucks, and that just makes a mess. So we keep it clean. Also provides good contact, electrical contact through the ground or the common side of the chassis. So that's good for that. And that came out pretty good. It had a lot of pitting, but I just kept sanding and sanding till most of it went away. But it's still in good shape. There's no broken parts to it, so I'm happy with that. So I think what we can do now is reinstall our assembly here. Get our wires down here where they belong. Alright. Make sure our gear is in place there. I've also taken the time to get the paint out of all the grooves where the mechanism slips back into the chassis here. So don't need to be fighting with paint there either. So we'll slip that in there. But first we'll get it in the right way. That goes in there. There we go. And our little tabs here, we'll twist those back in shape. Our wires are right there at our solder lugs again. Let me grab my vice grips here. Put a little twist on these tabs again, just to hold it in place. Just a slight twist. That's all it's going to take. And that should be enough to hold it. Just like that. It's not loose, not wiggling, nice and tight. Alright, so now I think we can put our, get our wires soldered back on here. We'll get them wrapped around our solder lugs, but I'll wait till I put the trucks on before I solder everything together. Get that insulation back where it's supposed to be. Bring that around here. Get that into the little groove there. Doesn't have to be, but it helps hold it. There we go. Alright, I'll grab the other side of our coil here. Straighten that all out right now. Wrap that around. Just leave that like that hooked over the wire. Alright, and then our truck wires from our slide shoes will hook up to the solder lugs. So let me get my soldering iron hot and the trucks, and we'll get them attached. Okay, we got our freshly cleaned and repaired trucks for our log dump car here, the 336155. All right, So everything's cleaned and lubricated. Both wires are now attached. So fresh out of the shops. Alright. So those are done. Now we'll turn our attention to our chassis here. See what we can accomplish with that. Alright, so let's get our trucks back together. Got our side frames all cleaned up, ready to go. I've got the truck pivot clips all cleaned up. Straighten the tabs on there. All you have to do to that is just set them on a piece of wood like that. Give it a couple taps. And that'll straighten the tabs up again. Alright. Very good. We'll get this out of the way. So we'll get our side frames back on. Now make sure your tab that's facing away from the coupler. Let's make sure our wire is put this way. Alright, get it on our axles here. Alright. Use our spreaders once again. Get them adjusted here a little bit. Get them down in there. Spread that apart. Alright, we got our back set of wheels in. Alright, so we'll do the same for this side. Spread this apart. Hit that axle in. And hit that one in. All right. So then those are all set now. All right. And if you see that this is still spread out a little bit, just take a pair of channel locks and just pinch this down a little bit. Make sure you're on the stakes there and just kind of pinch, and it'll push those trucks back into place. But these are still good. We're in good shape. So that's that set of trucks. And let me get the other one done. All right, both sets of trucks are ready to go. Set them aside for the moment. And we'll get our truck pivot clips pushed back into place here. Easy as that, just pushes right in. All right. Same thing with this one. Push it right in. Now those tabs are sitting real flat, you know, like they're supposed to. So we remedied that problem. All right, but before we put our trucks on, what I want to do route our wire through our frame here. That'll go up and through here. Alright, bring it around here. And that will be right close to our soldering lugs. Alright. And then let me find my block of wood here. Alright, got our block of wood. We gotta overcome this little offset here that hold this tab here that holds the body on this side of the car. So, and then that allows that block of wood to hold that clip in place there. Alright, so let's push that back on. Alright, there it is. That one's in place. Okay. And then we can loop our wire up in our little catch here. Put a little bend in there. Get it up in there. There we go. Get that up in there. Just like that. We still got enough for our truck to turn, so that's good. And we got enough slack here for our wire to be soldered to our lug. Alright. Now this one, I'm going to leave it loose right now till I get this all soldered together. But we can use the position of the truck to gauge how much wire we need without pushing it all the way on. Don't need a lot on this side. Grab my wire cutters here. Alright, I'm going to leave a little extra slack here. We can always make it shorter if we want to. Can't go wrong doing it that way. Alright, let's get our wire stripped here if we can. Let's see, we should be able to go. Let's try this over here. Might be a little better. There we go. Okay, that one's done. Let's get this one done. Okay, our wires are stripped. Let me fire up the soldering iron, clean up all our trash here, and we'll solder these in place. Tin this first just to make it a little easier to bend and hold its shape. So then to do that, then I can work with it a little better. So let's just dip her in here, our flux. All right. That's all we need. I'm not even in the picture, am I? There we go. I think that's all we need there. There we go. Spread that out a little bit. There we go. All right. So, put a little hook here on this wire. See if I can get this put into position here. Just like so. Okay, I got her clamped in place here so she doesn't move around on me. We'll attempt to give her a taste of solder here. All right, I think that's all we need there. Very nice. Get my needle nose after it. I can put that over on this side. Let's do a little better job of that hook here. That's better. Get that down into place. All right. Let me clamp it down. Maybe over this way, huh? There we go. All right. Very nice. We've had good success with that. We'll unclamp that now. All right. Get our wire some room to roam here. There we go. Okay, our trucks are back in place. We'll tidy up our wiring. Once we're sure everything's working, we'll get that all taken care of. Okay, now we're all set to do what? Huh? Let's put our, make sure our gear is still free to move. It is. Everything's looking good. Okay, so before we put the body back on, we're going to test it on our UCS track here. Very good. I'm just using jumper cables to get to the track here. Okay, turn the power on. Push our unloader button. Okay, it's working. Let me see if I can get you a better shot here. Okay, I'll try to keep it still here for you. There's the top of the wheel there, our gear. And that's where the cradle would drop back down. Alright, so we're working. Everything's in good shape. And get you back on the tripod here. Alright, I'm very happy with that. Okay, so now here's our body, and we'll get this ready. Here's our cradle, fresh off of eBay, a new used one anyway, and these two little pins here on either side of the cradle. Those usually are what breaks on these things. But if you just push it underneath that spring steel there, sometimes you gotta coax them. So we'll use a little jeweler screwdriver, pry that spring steel up just a hair. There we go. And there's our cradle back in position. Okay, so let's get her hooked on over here. You know what, before I do that, let's make sure we give a little taste of oil to our truck pins here. Alright. Now I'll lubricate everything else later, but this will be hidden under the body, so we'll get this hooked into our car here, thusly. Alright, now this is not the original screw. We need a 6 by 1/4 inch self-tapping, but this is a metric that is close until I get one. There we go. That'll hold it in place for now. I'll have to order a screw. I thought I had one, but I do not. Alright, let's turn the power back on, see if our cradle comes up. There it goes. Yeah. Let's switch it around here. They say it takes 7 pushes of the button to get the cradle to come up. All right. Okay. So let me grab, I doubt this will work. I use these on another car here. They're just a stick I found outside a while back. I just use them as a log load, but we'll see if we can get something to happen here. They're pretty rough to just roll right off, but we'll see what happens. All right, there we go. Let's see if she works. I'll be darned. It sort of worked, didn't it? Yeah, if it wasn't for this little branch there coming off that stem. That's pretty cool. I like that. Let's put that one towards the front. Where's our other one? Rolled right off our layout here. Let's put the roundest one in the back. Yeah, let's try that again. Ah, you gotta love it. Go Lionel, huh? You gotta love them. That's an excellent outcome for this project. All right. So I think we're all done with this. Let's put our load back on. Let's see. We'll put the rough one up here. And then that one. Get the stem sticking upward so it has some place to roll. All right. Very nice. All right, how about that, huh, folks? Very good. I'm happy with this project. Like I said, I'll oil all the axles and everything before we run her around the rails, but I'm happy with this. Successful project. It's working great. All right. Toodles.